a supernatural
Uh,
world ruled by the gods. So
in
obviously,
the literally in the map, bro, like in the map, it's placed above the living world. Like they have like a map of how the cosmology is, and then I think it's literally like above it. So like literally, it could just be spatially higher, as in like the first floor is spatially below the fucking
you
second
do
one.
realize that doesn't make any sense pertaining to
What
the
do you mean
sentence
that
in
doesn't make
question.
any sense?
Okay, so you do
How?
realize that if it's going to be physical, it has to analytically follow it is within dimension, so it cannot be higher than it, which again is going to present some form of contradiction. Now, oh my God, you do realize higher is just going to mean like it's going to be like what is it called again? Higher in terms of its axes. So for
Yeah,
example,
you're just presupposing that based off of fucking nothing. Like, what are you
okay, and
presupposing
I'm
that off?
telling you that it says it's above dimension, so obviously it cannot be
Yeah,
above
it can
dimensions if it's
literally
going to be
be
within it.
higher than the dimensions that exist within the verse, right? Like space.
Okay, you do
Yeah,
realize
and
that dimensions in this case is
the
going to include
context in the
every single
series
physical
supports
thing.
that. The literal map shows that it's spatially
Oh
higher,
my God.
not
Okay. Oh wait.
necessarily
Yeah. Wait.
what
Hold
it
on. Hold on. Hold on.
is.
Okay. So the sentence basically says it is above physical measurements, but if it is physical, it has to follow. It is within these physical measurements. It cannot be above it. So I'm telling you, your interpretation doesn't make any sense and it's contradictory.
No, it's not because you're just presupposing what the definition means. Transcendent doesn't need to be qualitatively.
Oh my
Like
God.
you're
You do.
assuming it means
No. No.
qualitatively.
No. You do realize that I'm going under your said denotation and I'm explaining why that said denotation is a contradiction, right?
Okay, explain
I
what
said
my
that
denotation.
transcend in this case higher. So obviously in this case, if we go off of your definition, which is higher, it cannot be higher than these physical measurements if it's going to be within these said physical measurements. Because if it's physical, premise one, all physical properties are going to be within dimensions. Premise two, other world is going to be physical. Conclusion, other world has to be within these said dimensions
Yeah,
or
all of that is just
measurements.
bumfuck retardation. Anyway, like what they mean by
No, 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 no,
dimensions,
no, 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 no.
literally
Yo,
just
retard, go
mean
back, go back, go
because
back.
by
Yes,
dimensions
which point
here,
is retarded? Which point is retarded?
I'm
Which point is
literally
retarded?
explaining what's retarded, right? So now let me actually explain it, right? Because what they mean by dimensions here can easily just mean that they like the living world is its own dimension, right? It is spatially higher, right, than that dimension, right? It's placed above it, therefore it transcends it, right? Because it just says dimensions, right?
You
So
do realize
dimensions
it
can just
says
mean
dimensions
universe, the
even
living world, the
plural, right?
fucking universe. It's above that spatially, so it transcends those dimensions. Because obviously, right? If it's talking about it transcends dimensions, it would probably be within the context of the series, right? You use series context in conjunction with the statement to see what the fuck it means, right? And since even if you go by every literal definition of these words, it can still mean what I'm meaning. You're just getting like it's qualitatively higher out of fucking thin air, right? At worst, it's equal interpretation and it goes to negation, right? So yeah, I don't think you have any real basis for any of the claims that you're actually making, and you're just spitting bumfuck nonsense to try to wink Goku for no reason.
You do realize that if it's going to be in reference to a specific universe, it would say a dimension. So obviously, in this case, A is
I
going to
said
be
the
in reference
dimensions
to
that
that thing
exist in
itself.
Dragon Ball.
So obviously, it says it transcends dimensions, which means that analytically, it follows it isn't going to be in reference to a specific thing. This is going to be basic English. Now, obviously, it's going to follow
You know, there's like the hell
based upon.
dimension, and then there's like the living world dimension, and so on. So dimensions just means plural. There's multiple physical spatial dimensions that exist, right? So
Oh,
dimensions would
well,
be multiple.
you do realize that
So
these won't be distinct dimensions because they follow under the same category of physical measurement. So, for example, if they are
you're
all
just
going to be
assuming
three
that it means
dimensional.
qualitative off of nothing. That's what I'm saying,
Okay, so what do
bro.
you think dimensions means? No, 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 no,
I
no.
said
Let's go back to
dimensions
English.
analytically can just mean universes, is what I'm saying.
Wait,
That's
wait. So
literally
what's going to be the justification for that? Like, is there any form of justification for it?
okay. I could just get you a definition of dimensions real fast that just
Okay.
makes it mean says it means universe, unless you're just gonna argue with me on that definition, which you
I
probably
mean, we
are.
can go, with the Oxford definition, which is going to be the most accepted dictionary. You do know that, right? So obviously, if we go under that said dictionary, it says a measurable extent of some kind, such as length, width, and height. So obviously, we should accept, denotations that are going to be most accepted unless proven otherwise. So for example, suppose this statement, Goku destroys this universe. Obviously, in this case, we can, interpret destroys as, you know, disintegrate. So obviously, in this case, wait, why the hell am I saying obviously too much? I think I need to
And
chill out.
also, I don't even agree with that, right? Because I would only go into the assumption that people that have read the literal definition of dimensions to begin with, right? Because obviously we're we're trying to see like what the author's intent is. Do you think that somebody is going
Yeah.
by the author definition of a word every time they
Okay, I have a
fucking speak?
question. So when an
Nah.
author makes a statement, what is the author, trying to do?
They're trying to convey some kind of information, right?
Okay, so obviously it has to follow that the author, just abides by our definition or, our denotation of these
I,
words. Or
what do you
at
mean
least
our
the author will
definition?
be trying to do that because obviously it has to be the
That
case
means they would
that the
be.
author
That
tries
means
to,
they would be.
convey what the okay, hold on. I'm saying that the author is trying to convey, what his sentences actually means. So if the author is going to use, his random arbitrary definition that no one knows about, it's not going to be coherent. So in regards to the purpose of the author, in a sense, Toriyama is
Fuck,
going to
I
be a
was
experienced
not what I
author,
was saying.
has to follow. What did you
No,
say?
it logically follows that they'd be using the colloquial definition of the word.
Okay,
No, that's
okay.
what.
So
That's
what do
how
you
it would
think colloquial
logically
means?
flow under that train of thought.
Wait, what do you think colloquial means?
Just like how the word is normally used within conversation.
Okay, so when someone says dimensions, like what do you think it's like the way it's going to be used? Like what do you think it's going to be used? Like in what way?
Well, to be honest, that's not really my burden, right? It can be used because for you're
Okay,
the one who's trying to say that it like
okay. So
refers to
since we don't
actions,
have
right?
any evidence
As long
upon
as
this,
you
let's
agree
say
that
we
it's the
should go.
colloquial definition, you would need to quantify what you think it would be under the
No,
colloquial
no,
definition.
no, no. Hold on. So obviously, okay, you do realize that when Oxford tries to change their definitions, to the most used definitions, right? So for example, if X means a new, word and people, use it differently, Oxford is going to try to change it to the way people use it. So since we don't have any criteria to go under, we should just accept the evidence we have currently, which again, so in this case, since I have more substance, we should accept my substance more unless you can, provide other evidence or other contrary evidence.
Wait, give me a second. I'm still trying to actually look for the fucking definition of this because we got into shit. But
I mean, I don't agree to the shitty Goku universal scale, but this is a horrible way to, argue against it.
a aspect, feature, situation, or problem or thing.
Yeah, wait and hold on. So look, yeah. So the scan in question, like look at the top. It says a supernatural world ruled by the gods. So obviously when we say supernatural, we're gonna be in reference to things above physicality, in the sense where it doesn't tie to the laws of nature, which again the laws of nature are gonna be in reference to the laws of physics or physical things. So obviously it has to be the case based upon the parameters and the context clues we have, that it's going to be non-physical or abstract. And also you do realize that when we say a soul, we're going to be in reference to non-physical things, right? So since the other world holds as some form of thing, or some form of, what is it called again, place, I mean quote unquote place for these souls, based upon those parameters we should accept it to be abstract or non-physical.
Just justify a metaphysical change.
Metaphysical change, do you want the justification for metaphysical change?
Yeah, because they move, they do things, right? They change,
Okay.
right?
Okay, okay, so I'll have to justify God. Okay, you do know the universe began to exist, right?
What do you mean by began? Define.
So I think began means having a finite time, or at some point not existing, or some quote unquote point not existing.
I don't think that's necessarily true. It's gonna be the problem with it like always existing.
So we know that atoms, are always in motion by kinetic molecular theory, and we know that the universe always expands, which means that analytically it follows that it would lead to infinite regress. Since we know that the universe deals with physical things, it has to follow that it has to be pertained by God.
With the okay, you're gonna need to so you're saying pretty much since there's a chain of causes, right? There has to be a beginning cause.
So basically, I'm saying that the universe is going to lead to infinite regress if it always exists, such as atoms are going to always move, which again is going to lead to some form of infinite regress if they keep on moving, as they're going to always be, interacting with something such as space. So obviously, it has to follow that it needs a beginning, otherwise it leads to a contradiction.
Um. Okay, I'll say that the universe probably started at some point off of that then.
Okay.
but I don't know.
Which means that since the universe is going to deal with physical things, it has to be caused by something outside of physical things, which means that metaphysical change has to exist, or otherwise it will lead to contradictions. So something has to,
I
participate in
agree
some
that
form
the
of
universe
causality.
exists, like started at some point, not that it necessarily needed to have a cause.
Wait, so do you think so do you think the universe could have just, came out of nothing?
You would need to present me like the P and not P because we can even
Okay.
like see with like like we know like atoms, right? There's like I think like in quantum physics, there's like atoms that just randomly decide to rotate in a direction for no reason, and then we
Wait,
actually don't like we have no cause as to why like these things actually rotate.
okay,
So
you do
some things
realize wait.
about
So
like
in terms of quantum, physics, like when we observe this to happen, it seems like there's no cause. It's not the case that it doesn't have a cause. It just seems like it. But obviously we
you wouldn't
cannot,
well you
we do.
wouldn't assume wait you wouldn't assume the positive of it having a cause without any evidence, would you?
I mean, no. Okay, just because we can't observe a cause, like how does that lead to the
I'm
conclusion that
not
it doesn't
saying
have
it's
a cause?
not the case, but you wouldn't
Okay.
assume the positive, right?
Okay, I can
Like
provide an argument as to why it has to be the
logically,
case it needs a cause.
huh?
I
You
mean, I'll
can
just
provide one.
provide the argument. So,
Okay.
nothing. Okay, so something cannot come out of nothing, as nothing is going to be the binary opposite of something, which means that it's going to be the absence of P deriving P, which means that it has to follow analytically that's going to be a contradiction in regards to the law of non-contradiction, as they are going to be in conjunction. Therefore, it has to follow that the universe needs a beginning analytically.
Okay. Can you repeat that? Because I was kind of thinking for a second.
Okay, so something cannot come out of nothing, as that would mean that two binary opposites are going to be in conjunction. And since something is going to be nothing is going to be the absence of something, it cannot derive something. Therefore, it has to be the case that has to be caused by something else. So a property causing a property. Otherwise, it would be a conjunction of binary opposites,
Okay.
which means
I'll just posit like paraconsistent logic, which just allows like
oh,
contradictions that.
you do realize that's going to be conceding to my argument, which means that it can be the case that contradictions can exist in fiction. But you do know that I'm not going to take that route. I'm just going to directly argue as to why contradictions cannot exist. So we know that in regards to the principle of sufficient, no, not principle. I mean principle of explosion. If contradictions exist, we can lead to any conclusion.
That's
Hold on,
running
hold on.
under no, that's running under forced order logic. That's just irrelevant. Like I'm not talking about that. Like I'm a different system of logic that allows for contradictions that don't lead to explosion. So you would need to actually
Oh,
attack the validity of that.
okay.
Just positing
Um,
within like logic is not going
Okay,
to help you.
okay, I'm just gonna argue a different route then, because yeah, because I don't care to argue for the principle of explosion. So we know that truth is gonna be defined as, correspondence to reality. Falsity is gonna be defined as the complete non-correspondence to reality. Premise three: for all of X, if X holds these truths, state of affairs, it cannot be true. It cannot be false in any way if it holds any form of truths, as it wouldn't meet the analytical criteria of falsity anymore, as it has some form of truth.
Okay,
To me, the
how you
analytical
like?
criteria of falsity
Okay, so how you like? So how you justifying all of that?
using logic
Yeah, for are you using forced order logic, which is already into question, right?
or
Like
sort of
I've already posited an entirely
using
different system.
reasoning. Okay, you do realize that
How you
circular
define
reasoning or begging the question doesn't apply to logic itself, but also you do realize that illogicality has to
what do
by
you mean?
default
Okay, you're gonna
follow
have to
some form of
justify
logic.
that. You just admitted you're begging the question, so like now you're gonna
No,
have to say what question and
wait, I'm arguing as to why it's fine to use begging the question, because in this case, logic is going to be the foundation of begging the question. So, another argument I do want to present is that illogicality does follow some form of logic, such as identification. So, when you deny that illogicality lacks the identity of being logical, you're confirming that the identity of illogicality is going to, be within illogicality. Basically, you're saying that's going to be identical to itself, which means that it has to follow some form
I
of
think I can give
logical.
you a place where like the law of identity doesn't actually follow.
You
So
cannot
what's
give a
that?
single instance where the law of identity cannot follow. You cannot give a single illogical proposition where the law of identity is not going to be detailed. Because by
Okay,
default,
so
when
if
you
you could
deny
wait,
logic,
wait,
you're
you just
logically
concede. Wait,
denying it, which means it has
we
to
put in
follow.
this if I you just concede if I can do that for you.
You can't. I don't think you can.
Okay, let's just say hypothetically I did. Do you just concede?
I don't see any reason why I have to concede.
I'm just asking, would you?
Nope.
I don't know how you're. If I can debunk identity, I don't see what the fuck you're doing after that. But sure. Trying to find a specific fucking thing real fast.
Wait, are you gonna say square circle analogy?
No.
Because that is still within the law of identification.
What, square circles? What the fuck?
Yeah, I think that is still within the law of identity in some way.
Or is this the one for non-contradiction? It might do both. I don't know, but let me place this down. And scan. Bum, 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 bum.
Wait, is this gonna be the liar paradox?
Just drop in here. I put it in scans pretty much. Heterological that does not describe itself. Autological, a word that definition does not describe itself. 2B is true. Wait, 2A is 2B is true. 2B is 2A.
Wait, so what does this entail? So
Uh,
heterologically, a word that definition does not describe itself. A word that definition. Wait, hold on. So when you say a definition that does not describe itself, like what do you mean by that?
a word that doesn't describe it. A word that's a definition does not describe it. It would
Like,
just
what
mean
does
like
that mean?
literally, like the definition doesn't describe like the letters itself, type
So
shit.
okay, so wait, okay, so what do you think that means? I don't think any word has that thing. So for example, when we say a triangle, and then we define a triangle to have three sides, I don't think a triangle describes its letters itself.
What?
What? That's not the point.
I was getting confused. So can I get more clarification upon what you mean? A word that definition does not describe itself.
I'm just gonna say like pretty much like yeah, like it literally, like I pretty much gave you the explanation. It's just what that is. Like you said, most words don't like fucking do that, but it's like this is just a word for that, right? A word that does not, like the letters itself does not describe itself, right? That's it.
Wait, hold on, give me a bit.
Anyway,
Okay. So basically, you're saying so words like long isn't long, but the denotation is going to be long.
something like that.
You do
But it's
realize
pretty
that
much
doesn't
like
violate the law of identity, right?
I'm not saying that by itself. I'm saying like heterological, right? Doesn't describe being heterological. It's is heterological, right? Is like you would put it in that category, but you can't do that because heterological is already heterological, so it like pretty much breaks identity, right? Like
No,
that.
not really. That's going to be a paradox. So that's going to be distinct in the law of identification. Now, and yeah, and also you do realize that doesn't violate the law of identification by proxy, right? Because you're saying that the word itself, the denotation attached to it, the identity of that denotation is going to be in reference to a word that does not describe itself. Also, you do realize I can't deny that heterological describes itself.
You can or
Also,
can't.
paradoxes are not going to be illogical. It seems illogical to us, but that doesn't mean that's going to be illogical. So, for example, take the statement, this statement is false. But if the statement is going to be false, then that means that's going to be true. Sure, it seems like a paradox. I mean, sure, it seems contradictory, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be a contradiction.
How is that not a contradiction if like one thing entails the other being false and the other entails the thing being true? So it's like how is that not? And either way, like you would say that the laws of logic, right? The way we came up to, with
Wait,
them.
hold on. So first of all, right, I don't think the other entails true and the other, entails falsity. So Wait, yeah,
Is it-
yeah. And also, I have another question. So when you say 2A, 2B is true, and then 2B, 2A is false, what are you trying to convey?
I'm just saying it would be like true that it would be like fucking heterological and fucking it's true that heterological would be heterological, and then it's also like false that heterological would be heterological because it also falls under fucking
Wait, so
autological.
why is it going to be true that heterological is true? I don't think heterological, describes itself because it isn't within the denotation of the word. So, for
No, I'm
example,
saying
a word that
heterological is a word that does not describe itself, right?
okay,
Right, so you would say you already agree that heterological does not describe itself,
okay,
right? So now it's
and I don't think
so now it's,
autological describes itself either.
yeah, no, just the definition of autological is a word that describes itself, right? Now, I'm not
Okay,
saying autological itself describes itself, right?
okay. So what's going to be the contradiction?
Okay, well, fuck. You know, I should have probably asked Agent more about this before I fucking did this. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, because I'm trying to remember what the fuck he even said, because this isn't even my argument, low key. Um, I think he said something like heterological when fucking it's a word that doesn't describe itself, so it'd be autological. But then now, since it's autological, it's a word
Oh
that
no.
fucking
Wait, what?
shit.
There's a whole lot of ontologicals being thrown around, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, fuck. I'll just drop this part. I'll just drop this. This ain't good.
Is this an
This
actual
would
debate or is Seaman clip farming?
It's a debate,
This is-
nigga, and I will literally ban you. Just stop talking, please.
Okay, buddy.
why did you ban Amari? What the fuck happened?
Okay,
I'm
so basically,
playing.
the argument is going to be that contradictions do follow some form of identity, which means that we can use logic to derive their absence of existence, or why, or we can explain why they can't exist at all. And I explained why begging the question in this case would be fine, and why it doesn't invalidate my argument.
Wait, how did you explain that again?
Because logic is going to be the foundation of begging the question, therefore you cannot apply to logic itself. Because begging the question would fail without logic, so you can't use it without you conceding on the initial argument.
And like, what is your fucking logic system again? Are you just using base reasoning?
I mean, I'm using reasoning as to why contradictions can't exist. I can reiterate the reasoning or argument.
No, it's from oh.
Are you like testing out agent fucking shit or?
Yeah. Alright.
Wait, who is
This
agent?
this this one this one's a little bit better. I think I might understand this one better. This one I think is for like contradiction or whatever. You just define Prem White as just like pretty much Prem White is just gonna be right. Any like usage of like the word white or the thing white within like a fucking premise, that's what Prem White
Wait,
is.
just post it in chat. The entire
Yeah, I did.
argument. Where is it?
Put it in scans. Put it in scans.
Okay.
So like Prem White is going to be a usage.
Snow is perm white
It's
equals
just-
snow is perm white. Okay.
Yeah, so Prem White just means that you're using fucking like Prem White is just when you use when you use white within a fucking premise, right? So if you say that snow is Prem White, it just entails a contradiction now, right?
Why?
Because if you say Prem White equals Prem White, well now snow is no longer Prem White because it's not in the premise anymore.
Wait, hold on. What is perm white?
Just a usage of white within within a premise, right? Within a premise.
Wait, so what do you mean by that? Do you mean white within white?
I just mean you use the word white within a premise.
Within a premise.
Yeah. So if you say snow is for Prem White, Prem White equals Prem White or whatever, it's now no longer in the premise. But we already know that initially that snow would be Prem White because it's white. right? And it's in a premise, right? But if you say prem white equals prem white, is now no longer
Hold
prem
on.
white because now it's in the conclusion. If you say snow is prem white, right? You know, if snow, fuck 'em, snow is prem white equals snow is prem white, right? It just creates like a contradiction, right? Like breaks the whole shit.
Wait, are you defining prem as a set?
I already told you what the fuck I said. What the fuck I mean.
I mean, I'm not
Prem
tracking
white
right now.
is just
Okay,
the
you touch down.
prem white is just the usage of white within a premise, right? Of something that's white
Within a
within a
premise,
premise.
I'm telling you. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Like when you say the usage of white within a premise?
P1 snow is white is
Okay,
type shit.
all right.
P1 snow is white, right? That's how it would work.
And then you're saying that if it can be, denoted in the conclusion, then it's going to be a contradiction.
So yeah, like if it's in the conclusion, it would entail a contradiction because it's now no longer prem white because it's not in the premise anymore.
You do realize
So
that something can be in the premise and the conclusion at the same time. That's not a contradiction, right? And you
now
do know
that
we
that's
call this
not.
deflation
Now,
argument.
by the way, the word's defined, it fucking entails a
Okay, so what does
contradiction.
conclusion means? No, wait, hold on. So P, therefore P. You do know that just follows where P is going to be the premise and the conclusion is also going
Yeah,
to
but
be
the whole
P. This is going to
definition of
follow
prem
right along
white
with.
is saying that like yeah, but the whole definition of prem white is snow,
You do realize that a
right?
conclusion and a premise are not binary opposites, right? Which means that they don't contradict
That's
each
not the
other.
point. By the definition, prem white has to be in the fucking premise, right? That's in the definition, right? The definition of the word is fucking in white used within a premise or something white being within a premise, right? So if it's in the conclusion, it's now no longer prem white. So
Wait,
it's
Princey.
literally within the definition of the word, right? It's how the word's defined. It like entails a contradiction, right? Once
Wait,
it's in the
Princey.
conclusion.
I could explain if you want.
Yeah, sure you can because I'm not really understanding it.
Okay. So he's pretty much saying that he's saying that snow is prem white because it's in the premise. But now it's no longer prem white because it's going from the premise to the conclusion. So it goes to prem white, not prem white, but prem white again. You
Okay,
see?
okay. And I said to that, something can be in the premise and the conclusion as well. Just because it's going to be in the conclusion, it doesn't mean that's not
Yeah,
going to be in the
he's
premise.
not arguing that, right? What he's arguing it goes from the premise to the conclusion. He's not saying that it can only be one or the other.
Okay, wait. So what does he mean
He's
by
just saying
in
that's
the
what
premise
happens.
and conclusion?
That's what he just said.
I'm saying
Wait,
it's like
Yeah.
it's no longer within the premise, therefore it's no longer prem white. So if you say snow is prem white equals snow is prem white, is in like okay, conclusion snow is prem white is now no longer in the premise. So now it's no longer prem white, right? But that entails a contradiction, right?
wait. Hold on. Give me a bit.
Yeah, I don't think Agent went in depth enough to. It's fine, but
And I'm still technically winning. He doesn't seem like he understands what I'm talking about. So
yeah, fair enough.
I used the other one, like the heterological one. That
Yeah,
one was
we
bad.
tried, but it didn't work that well.
Yeah, I didn't. I need to ask him more about that. I brain farted. But
Yeah,
it
no,
works.
nah, it's fine, it's fine. So what's the debate?
There's some shit about Goku.
Wait, bro. I'm being a tracking demon. Hold on.
Are you?
What do you mean being tracking demon?
I'm basically saying I can't track.
No, no, that would be your demon is tracking type shit.
Either way, yeah, if you can't attack this argument, right?
So
Logic
basically,
wouldn't
the premise is
law.
going to be that the snow is white.
Damn.
Therefore, the conclusion is going to be that the snow is white.
No, no. In
Oh
the
my
P1,
god.
P1 is snow is prem white, which is the uses of white in a premise, right? So if you say right? Snow is Prem White. Conclusion, Snow is Prem White. That doesn't work because now it is no longer in the fucking conclusion. Oh no, wait, now it is no longer in the premise, right? Now it's in the conclusion. So via the definition of Prem White, it's now an analytic falsity that is Prem White, even though it logically follows, right? For you to say